Svetlana, thank you so much for being here with us today. Can you help us understand, could you describe the current political and social climate in Belarus at the moment?
Look, if you might remember back in 2020, we had a huge uprising against Lukashenko because of fraudulent elections. So since then, our country reminds like times of Stalin repressions. Because every day people are going through detention, through repressions, and every day people are detained for different reasons. First of all, of course, for opposing Lukashenko's regime, then for intensifying our national identity, speaking Belarusian language, for example. That is our official language, by the way, but it is a type of countering, regime. And for anti-war or pro-Ukrainian position, people are also detained. If you sing Ukrainian song or if you say slogan, I'm against the war, you are enemy of Lukashenko. So people live in full uncertainty about the rules. We don't know, people don't know what's available, not available. If you wear together white and red colors, because it's the colors of our national historical flag, you might be detained for this. For these 4 years, regime ruined in Belarus all the democratic media, alternative media. They had to relocate and restore the broadcasting from exile. All the NGOs, about 300 NGOs have been liquidated in Belarus. Civil society is not allowed in our country. All those people who fled the country, it's about 500,000 of people. They are going through transnational repressions. Their relatives in Belarus are under attack constantly. And of course, the main issue is that we have at least 1,200 political prisoners and new people are detained every day. So it's total fear that is in Belarus. But moreover, Lukashenko is selling our country to Russia because in 2020, this is Putin who actually saved Lukashenko from his political disaster, and now he's paying back with loyalty and providing allowing Russia influence all the spheres of Belarusian life. They Russifying our country. They have joined Belarusian regime and Russian propaganda, repeating the same narrative. So regime dragged our country into the war, making Belarus a country co-aggressor against the will of Belarusian people. So it's constant, we are actually on the eve of losing our independence because of Lukashenko policy. It's not easy, situation, but I'm so honored, I'm so inspired by Belarusian people who, despite all this brutality, they continue to fight. So when we are looking into dictatorship, of course, we have to see dictator, but we have to first of all see brave and strong people who are under constant fear continue to fight for the country.
Svetlana, when was the last time you were in Belarus?
On the 10th of August 2020. It was the next day after presidential election where, according to alternative countings, I won. But KGB made me, through pressure, leave the country. They were sure that when I leave, all the resistance and uprising stop, because it was usual practice. Get rid of opponents and people will come down, but it wasn't the case in Belarus. Instead, people for many months in a row went to the streets, where they're brutally beaten and tortured, but people continue to reject fraudulent elections and stood against Lukashenko until brutality was overwhelming.
And since 2020, many things have changed in Belarus, but also in the region. One of the major changes has been the invasion of Ukraine, and of course, this has consequences in the region and also for your country. Can you describe what has been and what is, for now, the consequence of Belarus being tied to Russia in this war? Just help us understand.
So let's start with dividing Belarusian regime and Belarusian people. It was so painful for us as for nation that the war actually has started from the territory of Belarus, that Lukashenko kindly provided to Russia. It was shock for us, and I think shock for Ukrainians that first missiles have been launched from Belarus. And at the beginning, Ukrainians just immediately started to call us co-aggressors. It was like hatred between Belarusians and Ukrainians. And actually, it took us time to explain Ukrainian people what was happening in Belarus. Though we are neighboring countries, we have 1,000 kilometers borders. Sometimes neighboring countries are not interested what's happening in the neighbors. And we managed to save Belarusian-Ukrainian relationship. We managed to prove that we are on the side of Ukrainians, because at the beginning of the war, Belarusian partisans disrupted railways that were going through Belarus to Ukraine and delivered equipment. Many of these partisans have been detained, and now they're facing death penalty in Belarus. But it was like our possibility to somehow slow down this invasion. Thousands of Belarusian military volunteers fighting on the side of Ukrainians. 80 people have already died, and recently a very painful case when Maria Zaitseva, 21-year-old girl, she was severely beaten and bullet shot during protest back in 2020, had long rehabilitation, and then when the war has started, she went to Ukraine, continued this fight, and recently 1 month ago she was shot there. And Belarusians went to the streets in the anti-war declaration. Many have been detained. Belarusian refugees who fled repressions, they started immediately help Ukrainian refugees, because we know what it means to grab your child, grab your documents, and leave your country, leaving everything behind. So we felt this pain. As politicians, we advocate so much on the international arena to give Ukrainians everything they need to win this war, because it's not only war of Russia against Ukraine, it's like matter of security of the whole Europe, of all democracy. But of course, there were some developments, and now for us, it's so important that Ukrainians win this war. Because fate of Ukraine and fate of Belarus are intertwined. We actually fight the same enemy, imperialistic ambitions of Russia. Russia sees post-Soviet Union countries as naughty children that, left their Soviet Union family, and as if we don't have right to choose our future by ourselves. No, you cannot. You have to stay with us. That's why it's so important, to protect those countries who chose European future. We, Belarus, actually, maybe people even don't know that we only 200 years under influence of Russia. Before, we were part of European countries. We were part of Grand Duchy of Lithuania and Poland. So we want to return to our real family. So why somebody don't want us, just forbid us to do so? And for us, it's important that when Ukraine wins, it will be one more opportunity for Belarusian people to raise again, because defeat of Putin will automatically means defeat of Lukashenko, because they are allies, and Belarusian people are inspired of future victory of Ukraine. And but what's disturbing me is that Belarus is treated as side issue. Like it's not very important, and not all understand strategic importance of free and democratic Belarus. Because if we solve Ukrainian issue, but give Belarus as consolation prize to Putin, for example, it will be a source of constant threat to European countries and to Ukraine. Because what Lukashenko, with the help of Putin, doing, they're sending migrants to the borders. They deployed nuclear weapon in Belarus. They holding this constant drills on the territory of Belarus. It will be constant source of blackmailing and stress. So without free and democratic Belarus, there will be no peace and stability in the whole region. We have to understand this and not to divide like our two cases.
How would you describe right now the relationship between Lukashenko and Putin? Because we've seen, like we're witnessing right now, a rehabilitation, an American. Trump is rehabilitating the figure of Putin in the international arena. How would you describe their relationship right now?
These two persons, they have a symbiotic relationship. They need each other at the moment. Lukashenko needs Putin as political and economic actually backup. Putin needs Lukashenko as very loyal and very cheap partner that will be serving him, till the end, and they can use each other to circumvent sanctions. For example, they can Lukashenko actually earning money on the war against Ukraine. Lukashenko militarized our economy just to provide equipment to Russia. So they maybe such a legend where turtle swimming and there is a snake on her back, and snake thinks if I bite a turtle, she will put me into water and I will die. And turtle think if I put a snake into water, she would bite me. So it's like such a friendship where they afraid of each other, but they need each other and have. But sometimes I hear that Lukashenko is hostage of Putin or victim of Putin. He is not. He chose his policy of selling our country, of pushing our country closer to Russia. This is him. Lukashenko was always pro-Soviet Union or pro-Russian person. He always played role of seesaw. In the winters, he with Russia because of cheap gas and oil. In summers, when he needs some money, he went to Europe. So he was playing all the time. And now, he's serving to Putin. He chose his side, and he will never be able, to be re-educated. He will never will be on the side of good, on the side of rule of law. So Lukashenko is a lost case. But it's not Belarus. Lukashenko is not Belarus. Belarus is Belarusian people, and that's why we have to put pressure on Lukashenko's regime and support people in our case.
And of course, your figure is certainly essential to this job of supporting Belarusian people. But as you said, we are almost 5 years from your last time inside the country. Could you help us understanding what has been your life in these 5 years and how you see your position being an opposition leader outside the country, which is not an easy task, especially in this moment? Can you describe us what's your of course, your job in a way is also what we are doing as well, to explain to the people outside of Belarus what's happening to Belarusian people, but also personally what means for you. It means, I think, and I guess, a lot of sacrifice for you.
I think everybody who contributed into our fight sacrificed a lot. Some people sacrificed with their freedom, some people with their lives, some people with their homes, and but it's I'm very proud to see that Belarusians understand their responsibility for the future of the country, and they doing this knowing that sacrifice will not be in vain. Of course, I'm as democratic leader, I'm facing a lot of challenges. We have to solve many issues simultaneously, but I have, of course, some priorities of my work. First of all, I need to keep this connection between people who stay in the country and people who left. 500,000 of people left Belarus since. They, of course, continue to fight. They have some troubles abroad with legalization, documents, so on and so forth. We are trying to solve these issues, but I don't want people to live in this exiled bubble, losing connection with people on the ground. And it's so important that people from Belarus who are there, they're providing us constant information, what's happening on the ground, on this or that enterprises or plants, that shaheds are flying over Belarus. even people from the system, Lukashenko system, they provide us very sensitive information, how sanctions are circumvented, or what new enterprise provide military equipment to Russia. These people might face death penalty, but they are doing this. So second, of course, is dragging attention to issue of political prisoners. We see how people are suffering in jails. Situation with political prisoners is awful, and we have to use all the possible instruments to release people. Third is rediscovering Belarus to the world. That Belarus is not appendix of Russia. It always was like a gray zone. Nobody talked about this. Even I remember as a child of Chernobyl, and thank you Italy that you took so many children, invited to Italy for rehabilitation. Nobody knew where Belarus. When people asked me where you're from, just Belarus. Where was it? Nobody knew where our country was. And now people understand where we are, that we share borders with Ukraine, what's happening. People is not the same as regime, so on and so forth. So the world started to pay attention, to our country and give voice to voiceless. Also, my task is to keep unity of democratic forces, because regime tried to split us. And that's why we are in constant coordination with our media, with the NGO sector, with human rights defenders, just to be in constant communication, knowing that we are doing one thing. Also, one of our priorities is to formalize a relationship with the democratic world. We have strategic dialogue with the USA, Canada. We signed agreement with the European Parliament. So we are treated as representatives of Belarus. You know that Lukashenko is not recognized as legitimate ruler of Belarus. Instead, countries are working with us. It's actually unprecedented, because not very often such happens. But I think that with our work and determination and unity, we show European Union, first of all, that we are ready to fight, for the country, and that democratic and free Belarus is in the interest of European Union as well. So, but of course, every day, you understand that your partner, your husband, your beloved is in jail fighting for his survival, the same as thousands of other families. Every day you have to answer the question of your children who, don't understand why their daddy stopped writing to them, because my husband is 2 years in incommunicado mode. Letters are not delivered anymore. So my younger daughter really directly asks, why our daddy is not writing us anymore? Maybe he died, or maybe he doesn't love us anymore. And it's difficult, but every day you have to look for source of strength and inspiration and energy. And sometimes you're exhausted. Sometimes you don't know what else you can do to keep Belarusian agenda, to track attention. Something not understandable happening with Ukraine. Israel, Gaza, so many conflicts, and Belarus is lost. So, and you have to find ways how to track attention. It's difficult, but we are trying to support each other, and I'm grateful to all the media that keep in Belarus in focus, and governments that are supporting us.
Thank you so much, and thanks for sharing such a difficult note about your life. But we would like to end on a positive note and think about what will happen if what is your vision for a democratic Belarus, and what would be the first steps once there's the opposition actually gets to power, or there's a transition of power to occur?
Of course, we have already the first steps we have to do after the situation is changing. Because first of all is that all the political prisoners are released. Mm-hmm. Second, we will hold free and fair elections. We know that it will take about 30-60 days to prepare new elections in Belarus, where a new leader will be democratically elected. We already now preparing new reforms for new Belarus. to because there are so many people from different spheres that see what we can change in our system that will bring more prosperity to Belarus. We're already working on dragging new investments in Belarus, but only when it is free and democratic. We have 3 billion euros money, from European government. In case of changes, it will be contribution, to hold all these elections. And what is very important, we will have to restore justice. All those people who committed heavy crimes, and we are collecting now already, not just to waste a long time in future, how to bring the perpetrators to justice in Belarus. So, of course, there will be, many challenges. Nobody say that after democratic changes happens, life will be easy. Of course, it's not. Many countries went through these processes, and now we are learning, from the best practices, actually. And we'll have to go through the process of reconciliation also. So, but our task is to be prepared already now. That's why we also pay attention to these issues as well. But I'm absolutely sure, Belarusian nation, people are really hardworking, very disciplined, and law obedient, and I think that very fast we will manage to change from dictatorship to democracy, and we're already planning what will be our first steps towards European Union. And we will be good examples of European nation, but of course the main issue how to reach this moment of changing of power in Belarus.
Well, thank you for telling the story of the Belarusian people. Thank you for helping us understanding more what's happening in the country and what could happen in the future if something changes in the better. And thank you for being with us, Silvia.
Thanks, Svetlana. It's been an honor for us to have you here. So,
and if I may at the end, to say a huge thank you to Italian government and parliament and the Italian people that you really taking care of Belarus, and we have very deep and long-lasting connection between our countries. And I think you, at the moment, Italy can take leading role in uniting the USA and Europe, having our common aim, peace and security in the region. So I encourage you to, to be peacemakers, to contribute into long-lasting peace in Europe, because this is not only what Ukraine or Belarus need, we as Europe, broader Europe need it as well. So thank you, your country as well.